All right, I'm joined by a special guest tonight out of Memphis, Tennessee. He goes by the name of Suaz, and he just put out a brand new record. He's going to get started by just sharing how he first got into music a few years ago.
Yes, sir. I got in music 4 or 5 years ago. I was a photographer, and I grew up around music. Family owned Blues Alley in Memphis. My dad's uncle started the Blues Foundation, so I always grew up around it. And then I was a photographer for a record company called For You Studios in downtown Memphis. Through that, I met artists, met label owners, and slowly just kind of started recording myself over time. I also had this little music group with a couple of friends, just messing around. But obviously, I'm the only one that stuck with it up to now. But that started me off was just being around, being a photographer, and seeing the passion and everything, and developing myself. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I can do this a little bit better. And not everyone's great at music, and with being around so many amateur artists, being an amateur photographer, I'm just like, there's more than this. So I dove into it and figured it out myself.
Was there any specific interaction you remember that kind of really set you to the point where you're like, I'm going to try this on my own and like push to start and
Yeah, I was there's this engineer that was at For You recording. I don't know where he's at now, but he got fired for drinking on the job, which is funny. But
cool dude, cool dude.
yeah, great guy. Uh, yeah, they had him bouncing around. Anyways, I played him something that was like one of my first three songs, and he was like, "Dude, you got to keep going with this. Like, I can really hear there's something in there. Like, and your writing's already good. Like, and this is your like one of your first songs." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I recorded it in my house, and he's like, "Dude, yeah, you got to keep going. We got to connect at some point." And he got fired, so we never ended up connecting. But that those words ended up pushing me
Yeah.
the very next day to get on the mic and keep going.
Yeah, that's awesome. What kind of, you mentioned how you were kind of in a group of guys and kind of went out and did your own thing. What kind of pushed you to feel like it was time to start making your own stuff and doing your own thing versus doing it with a group of people?
Well, like I said, the group of people is just some high school, like, just some fun shit that you have to do on the sideline. And the way they wanted to put business on it and do all of that. And at the time, I was just having fun with it. And then it came from business to, I quote, someone being the Tyler, the creator of the group. And that was just like, okay, so it's not like we're not having fun to send a friend group anymore. It's just now it's follow the leader. And it didn't, I have an ego, and that wouldn't rub anyone ego the right way, especially when you're just having fun, and
Yeah.
I couldn't let it go. And I don't think they could either. And everything just kind of fell into pieces off of that one comment and the conversations that were before and after it.
Okay, yeah, and then you kind of started doing your own thing. And that was about 2017 when you started doing your own stuff, or was that when you were doing the high school?
No, that was 2019.
Okay. And then 2022 is when you started putting stuff on Spotify.
Well, so I had music out before that
Okay.
point, but I had deleted it. It was very minimal stuff. I wasn't really taking anything too serious. I think every artist has like a they turned a page at some point. I was doing basic Juice World type beats, trying to be this guy and that guy, and just figuring it out. I don't consider that making music. That was just me messing around and dropping stuff. Now, like making music, I really started 2020.
Okay. What, like, with those songs in 2020, what made you feel like you were at this new point with your music where it wasn't what you were doing before and it was something different? You felt better about having it out and published and keeping it there.
Yeah, I stopped trying to be someone else. Juice WRLD was a major inspiration for me at that time. Now I feel like I'm very far from what I was doing and what his whole lane was. Respect to him, but I was just trying to replicate the sound that he had, and I didn't understand what it meant to make my own. And then in 2020, I think my voice was slowly there was like a pop punk wave going on at the time, and I found my rasp. Like I have a upper toned rasp in my voice when I record, and that year is when I found it, and it was right before the major car accident and everything that I went through. That kind of set in for me, and then after that wreck, I had a real long time that I could just sit down because I couldn't go anywhere and sit down and just like channel that. And so I slowly out of that situation, it made me a better artist.
Yeah, I actually wanted to touch on the car wreck because I read a little bit about that and saw that you lost a lot of your hearing out of the right
Yep,
ear, right?
right here. Yeah.
What was that like just emotionally like trying like when you find that you found this passion that you're kind of going on your own lane with and then you have this car accident and obviously you don't know how bad it's going to be if it's going to be permanent or what's going on.
Hmm.
What would like the fears associated with that and what was kind of your way of like pushing through it?
So for me, the people that are closest to me know I honestly don't care about much. I guess my childhood, I don't know what it is, but when it happened, I was just like, okay, another roll with the punch type of situation. It doesn't necessarily affect you as much as you think it would. Like you can meet a half deaf person in your daily life and you would not know until you're in a crowd of people and you can't
They
have a
can hear you.
conversation with them. It doesn't really matter, but I'm not. Yeah, I was way, way worse. I was almost fully deaf at one point. Now I can hear, like I can hear you talking. It's just like you're like there's a cup over my ear, so I can't hear above like 3,200 hertz.
Does that alter like how you record and like listen to your music back or anything or how you
Yeah,
process all that?
yeah. I used to just record with one of my headphones off and not hear myself live tune and just hear my takes outside of my headset. Now I have to have both headphones on and hear myself live tracking with the tune and the compression and all that. And without it, I can't do it. And then mix wise, I'm a big fan of automation, as you could tell if you go back into like my old. I was touching with Chase Atlantic's producer, Ben Cheeky, great guy. He had sent me a couple beats over, and I was touching a lot with automation, going from left to right side of my ears, and I could never get it right because when it go to my right side of my ear, I didn't know what I was doing. But as far as leveling, no, I think that's just kind of a force of habit thing. It's just overall a sound.
Yeah, what was that? I mean, getting in touch with someone from Chase Atlantic is super cool. I know 2022 is kind of when, or was it 2023 when both sides came out? And that one was 2023 with both sides, and it was Wildin and Get You Home were like the three that I like found you from last year. Was that like, were those songs like initially like they came out and you instantly were like, these are different than the rest, or these are going to bring a different crowd in, or was it kind of more of a gradual climb?
So Wildin is the sound that I'm still crafting. Wildin is where I plan to go as an artist in the whole. I'm just finding bits and pieces in other genres, and on the way, I happen to land on something like Both Sides. That's a very high pitched track and got a bunch of crazy effects. So I couldn't just leave it sitting on the shelf, and I knew because I was doing that whole dark R&B style. I knew that that would attract a different audience and get on the editorial that it did. No, I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
I knew there was an audience for that. There was a big audience. I feel like Post was kind of in that wave when he first came out, like the 2016 era. So I know there's an audience for it, but it's not my audience. It's not something I don't enjoy it as much as I do as my songs like That's Life or Downtown. But it's definitely like when I'm drinking and I'm in the right scenario, both sides can slam.
Yeah, for sure. When did you kind of know that you were shifting towards your current style of music?
Wilder.
Well, then when you put that out, you were like, this is what I want.
Yeah, I made Wild Then, and the reception it got for being such a small artist. Yeah, I'm still small, but then I was much smaller, and from all the beforehand, the comments I was getting beforehand, just to the few people I sent out that hear it, I knew I'm like, okay, so this is the direction I'm supposed to go. It got way better reception than the pop punk, way better reception than the just pop. So, and it was more fun to me.
Yeah. Before getting into 2023, did you have a bunch of people around you, or did you have a way of learning how to like craft a sound, I guess? Because it just feels like from what I've seen, just from like listening to the catalog you have on Spotify from 2022 to 2023, it feels like it has like a finished sound to it, if for at least those 2 years there. And I was just surprised because I think when I found your music, I was really into the Spotify daylist stuff where they would just like put stuff that sounded like this, and I was trying to find as many new artists as I could at the time. And I found your stuff, and I was like, wow, for how finished this is, I feel like his like listenership isn't where it could be right now, but you have like that finished. sound quality where it's not like, oh, this isn't some person who doesn't know what they're doing behind the mic and the visual, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the sound doesn't sound finished. Like you can tell when a song has like been looked at by a few people and has like a finished sound to it versus someone who's like, yeah, this is good, I'm gonna put it out. Like it's a different feel to it.
yeah. So my friend Grant Keller, or Percy Blue, however you know him by, he helped me out very early with finding my sound, finding a mix that sounds good with everything. You know, seeing what I didn't like, seeing what I did like, and then eventually getting me to land on the general set of plugins and all that, and then learning how to mix. So Grant is honestly responsible for helping me craft my sound. I wouldn't put that with no one else except Siphon Beats. We don't really work anymore. That's a long story, not meant for this. Keep that behind closed doors. Him, and his beats were very in tune with me at that time, and the direction he went happened to be the direction that I wanted to go, and we explored that lane together. You know, we got wildin, and that was that. But beside that, in my own head, vocally, like how to find my sound vocally and what I knew sounded best, that was just me loving music. I feel like a lot of artists aren't doing it because they love music anymore. I just love it. I could sit there all day and record as long as I got the beats for it.